Hi everyone, welcome back to another video from Wesno's Tech News and Reviews. Today we've got with us the all-new addition to the fitness tracker market. So this is the Huawei Band 8. Now, some people may say this is the best tracker of 2023. Well, I'm not so sure of that, but let's get into the detail and then we can discuss what's really going on here. Let's do it. So first of all, we'll talk about the design of this band. Then we'll talk about its display and then the features and functions. Now, if you've been watching Wesno's for quite some time, you'll know that I don't get into the minute details. Oh, it's got an alarm clock. No, we're going to talk about the important things here. Not like, oh, there's a weather widget. None of that. We'll be talking about the SpO2 functionality, we'll be talking about stress monitoring, we'll be talking about the heart rate sensor at the back here. As well as that, we'll be telling it how it really is. So, are we just reading the specs on the box, or are we going to get into the real details? And I'm going to tell you about some of my frustrations with this band. Anyways, let's get into it. With the Huawei Band 8, you do get a rectangular display. So here it is, the corners are rounded. Now the biggest difference between this band and the previous two, being the Band 6 and the Band 7, is that now it doesn't have the barrel shape. Rather, the case is actually flat lines. It's got these flat case walls. And previously, if you remember, they were sort of rounded and a bit barrel-like, just looking bigger than it should be, really. Now, the case design is still plastic. That's it, it's not metal, so it doesn't look premium. It does want to look premium, but it doesn't. It just looks plasticky. On the back, yep, it's just dark gray plastic that's going to be sitting on top of your wrist. Is that a bad thing? Well, no. You know, it can be something more flashy, but again, you're not seeing it. It's just sitting on top of your wrist. We've got a button, one button on the right hand side of the watch case. Again, it's just the same material, same color as the watch case, so it's there for your functionality. If we talk about the straps, well, they're nice and thin, they're very flexible, they will give you a lot of ventilation to your wrist, simply because, again, they're thin, they've got quite a lot of holes on both straps. Now, another really interesting thing about the actual straps, if you recall, with the Huawei Band 6 and 7, there were problems. You could basically break off a nail if you were trying to unpin or undo the straps. Here, it's simple. You simply press on the little button here and the strap comes off. So even if there were a lot of people who wanted to potentially change the straps on the previous models, they were either too afraid to do it, well, not to injure themselves, or to break the clasp. Well, here it's nice and simple. What about the dimensions? Well, they're pretty much very similar to what we had previously. So you got 43.5 millimeters on the tall side. You've got a width of 23.5 millimeters and a depth of just 9 millimeters. Wow, actually, the Huawei website does say 8.99 millimeters. Well, 9. That's all it is. So it is rather slim. Both from the top side, from the actual height on top of your wrist, it's a good, very light. In fact, it's so light, it's just 14 grams now without the straps. The previous model was 16, the Band 6 was 18, so they are doing something. So that's pretty much it about the design. Now let's get into the display, because it might be interesting for the newcomers to the Huawei fitness tracker market. Not so exciting for the ones that have been using the Band 6 or the Band 7. Anyways, let's talk about the display. Apart from the fact that it's bright, it's really pleasant to look at. Well, it's actually 1.47 inches. That sounds, wow, that's so huge. Is it though? Comparing it to the previous two models, it hasn't changed. So that's a bit of a question, right? The actual AMOLED panel on here is not changing. Another interesting fact is that the brightness has actually been slightly reduced from band 7. So if previously I think it was 475 nits of brightness on the band 7, on this one it's 450. Not sure why they did it, maybe to save the battery life, because let's step away from the display specs and jump smoothly into the battery life. Well, the battery has not changed. So previously you would expect 14 days if you were just very sparingly using this watch, right? So you'd have your heart rate measured every so often. You wouldn't put your SpO2 on continuous monitoring. Then yes, you could potentially push out 14 days. But the typical usage was 9 days on the band 7 and on the band 8, because again, the functionality increase here is ever so slight above the band 7. So with charging it, actually, you can use the same charger as from the previous models. Another really cool thing here, which is a bit of an uptick from the band 7, is that within just 45 minutes, you can actually get a full charge on this tracker. Another cool thing is that if you have only 10 minutes to charge it, that will still give you around 24 to 36 hours of typical usage on this tracker. Considering the display size did not change on the watch, we didn't see an increase in resolution either. We still get only 194 by 368 pixels, giving us a PPI, or pixels per inch, of just 282. So this is the same resolution as on the previous two models. Now, considering the Band 6 did come out 2 years ago, well, it's a bit of a question to Huawei. What are they thinking? Why aren't we seeing more improvements in the display? But that's a question for another day. When we talk features and functions, we don't want to talk about the basic stuff. We want to talk about the real stuff, right? So of course it's got a step counter on here. Of course it's got the widgets like your weather widgets, your alarm clocks, all the rest of it. We're not going to talk about it. Yes, it does give you breathing exercises. If all of a sudden you're feeling a bit stressed, well, yes, you can do some breathing exercises. But every tracker out there, well, almost every tracker and smartwatch out there offers that. I do have to say, this is a very budget tracker, yet the offering here is not budget at all. So let's talk about the sensors first. First of all, in my opinion, we have to discuss the optical heart rate sensor on the back here. So this is the module that emits the green light, green LED light, onto your wrist and catches back the reflections on the photodiodes, and this actually measures your heart rate. Also, we have an SpO2 sensor here. Now both of these are actually working with the TrueScene technology, and both of these sensors can work continuously throughout the day as well as the night. Now what's really cool is that during the night you actually get the resting heart rate as well, so that's a pretty useful metric. Now when you are sleeping, you will be happy to know that this tracker has True Sleep technology. Now I've seen quite a few reviewers saying that the True Sleep technology is not quite right, Huawei doesn't get it right. I disagree with that, simply because there's a lot of credibility to their game in the sleep area. Considering that the True Sleep technology was developed by Huawei in conjunction with the Harvard Medical School. So there is some serious tech and knowledge backing up this technology, which is sitting right there on your wrist. So this watch will actually identify your deep, light, and REM sleep. You get a score as well as a breakdown of your sleep patterns on the watch, or you can go and look at the charts in your app, in the Huawei Health app, which is a bit more detailed. Now, of course, this is a fitness tracker, so it should measure your fitness, and it does that. It does it with style. There's 100 sport modes available. Wow, 100. Well, on the Band 7, we had 96. So, what are the 4 sport modes that were added? I'm not sure. I don't know what they are, but really, 96, 100, anything over 50, I think it's pretty good. But anyway, so there's 100 sport modes on here. Now, this tracker does not have inbuilt GPS, so you will have to use the GPS on your smartphone to measure your distance, speed, and so forth. This tracker can actually record some pretty cool and advanced fitness metrics, such as the running ability index. It will compare your results against other same-sex users of the Huawei Health platform. So the index will be able to show you that your results are, let's say, 50% better than other males or females in the same age group. That's pretty useful information, I guess. Now there's also performance prediction here. You also get metrics like training load, aerobic versus anaerobic training stress. And of course, the watch also measures VO2 max. So this is quite an interesting piece. So again, you're not going to go running without your phone because you need the phone and its GPS to measure the distance. But hey, this can actually measure your pace. It's a good tracker. For the price, for the asking price, it's definitely a bargain. Now I actually got this for 40 quid, and around the world it's costing somewhere around the $50 mark. If we step away from the monitoring, from the health monitoring, if we step away from fitness and we talk about the smart features and functions, well, there hasn't been much improvement from the previous two models. But of course, when you get calls, you will get the notifications on your screen. Also, if you get a text, you can actually reply to it, but only if you're using an Android device. And of course, these trackers from Huawei, they are actually compatible with Android as well as iOS. So if we sum up this tracker, we get a very budget offering, which is really and truly cheap. But the functionality and the features it brings is very advanced. The quality is up there because Huawei is the biggest player in the game. Well, at least in the Asian market, right? They are huge. This is the largest manufacturer of fitness trackers, fitness wearables in Asia. So they know what they're doing. On my channel, I do accuracy tests. And from the results that we saw for Band 6 and Band 7, the heart rate accuracy on these trackers, well, again, Band 6 and Band 7, were somewhere between the 5 and 10% mark away from the Polar H10 ECG chest strap. So that's pretty darn good for such a budget tracker. Now, the Band 8 actually uses updated or improved technology. So I am yet to test its accuracy, but considering we've seen the improvements from Band 6 to Band 7, I imagine that Band 8 will show even better results. What can I say? Budget, I think that more improvements could have been made to this tracker, but overall, it is a solid piece.